Welcome to a 212 Toby practice model built in IronCAD. This one is a lid. It's called lid 3, actually dated 6/5/2024. So this one's actually really a fun model. I was kind of excited to do this one because it has some interesting things that IronCAD has hidden in some of our features or IntelliShapes to give you some of the basically this cap shape. Instead of doing a spin shape inside of here, we'll show you how to build that cap shape. Also, this positioning is just basically referencing the offset here, so we'll show you how we can just build that, then offset it once we're ready. And it's got a little draft on here, and it's got a, the distances from the center point, but we also have a radius here, so we need to know how to build the shape. So last thing we had to do is just this little cutout here, which is fairly simple, just a hole cutout and a hole going through there at a different radius as well. So we'll go ahead and build this in IronCAD and show you some of the cool ways to build this. So again, we're in millimeter units, so we're just going to drag and drop a cylinder to start off with. And this is our original shape here. So this is our base, which has a diameter of 311, and it has a height of 8 millimeters in there. So we'll go ahead and build that as our starting point. Now the next one is this cap. So how do we do the cap inside of here? So an interesting thing, so let me pull that back, is it gives a height distance value from 52 from here. So we're going to subtract that. But basically, how do we get this cap inside of here without doing a spin shape? So the way to do that is to use another cylinder because it's also on a different radius. So we're going to make sure, again, I'll just repeat that. We're going to drag and drop that right on the center point so that we're in the center here, and we're going to go ahead and put a 300 millimeter diameter on that. Now, what I'm going to do here to get the height value, I'm just going to snap this down to the bottom, and I'm going to snap this in line exactly to this. The reason is we have these surface reshaping properties, which you can access on right-clicking, or from our property browser, you can access that. And we have information defining our start and our end inside sections of our geometry. And this arrow is defining that on extrude, so that our start would be the bottom part of that arrow, the end would be that top. So we want the end section, and we want to add a cap to that. So we know the overall height is 52, and we just got to subtract the 8, so it's going to give us a value of 44 inside of there, the total height on that. And basically it's going to take this shape on the end and add that 44 cap on that. So if we go ahead and hit OK, you can see it gives us that nice dome shape without doing any spin shape whatsoever to create that. So a really handy feature inside of in here to use those caps on the geometry inside of IronCAD. So that's a kind of a cool feature. And you also have handle access. If you hit the tab key, you can access the handle to pull it up and down and to actually move it in different locations other than the center if you needed to as well. But in our case, we got it right where we want it. So now let's go on to our next shape. So our next shape is this cutout on here. So let's go ahead and just drag an extrude cut on here, and I'm going to hit the center point geometry here. And what I'm going to do is just going to pull this up, or I can flip it. I guess probably just flip it. Let's just do a flip extrusion on that. So we've got that extrude there. We're going to pull it all the way through and pull it out this way. And I'm just going to modify this side a little bit. Probably somewhere over here, doesn't really matter. We'll just position that in a second. So we have that geometry of the cutout, and it has a 14 millimeter height here. So we know that we aligned it on that top edge there, so we can just take this value, whatever it is, and move it our arrow key to the end and just say minus 14, which is basically just offsetting it. So we offset it up 14 millimeters. So now we've got our height value inside of there. So now we can go ahead and add some of our other geometry. One is this draft. So the next thing we can do is go into our featured ribbon bar, go to our draft faces, and we're going to draft it, and it actually drafts from this face here. So we can pick that plane as our drafting face, and we can select this face here, and we want to do that 20 millimeters. So it's 110, so it's 90 plus 20 to get that 110 value. So we'll just go ahead and do that. And last, we'll go ahead and add a blend right along this edge, which it has a value in this case of 20 millimeters, and just hit enter to apply that. And so now, oops, we got our shape here. Let me go ahead and turn my edges back on, sorry. Oh, I turned them off. 1 second, I turned those off on accident in our rendering, so let's turn our part edges back on here. I hit that with a shortcut key, sorry about that. There we go. So now we can see that. All right, now that we've got this shape here, so this is kind of our overall shape, we know some information. We know that this has got to be offset basically a half of 94 from the center point of this shape. So what we can do is actually access this feature inside of here, and we can move it with the triball. So we can just turn on our triball. We can tell it to move the triball, hold the shift key down, and just snap to the center of this. Doesn't really matter where on here, we just want it along that center point. So we're holding the shift key on, and again, we can hit a circular edge. It'll give us that center point for us. Now we can lock down that handle and say, give me the distance from the center point of this shape. And we know that needs to be what did it say, 94 divided by 2, so 47, hit OK, and that will move us that distance. So again, right click, edit distance from here, should be 47. Okay, so now that we've got that in the exact position, we can now just do a pattern on this. So we could do a mirror shape if we put a plane here, but we're just going to do a pattern, rotational pattern on this. So we can actually just select this shape inside of here, do a circular pattern. We're going to select our axis, and we're going to do an evenly spaced here. We just need 2 of these, 180. And we'll select our features, which is going to include all these features here. So it's going to do our blend, our draft, and our H block for that. So we're going to create that. You can see it appearing on the other side. We can hit OK to get that. And just to show our values here, if we go back over to our home, we can get our smart dimension, holding the shift key down, we'll get that center point, and move over there to this center point. I'm still holding the shift key down, by the way. It'll give us that 94 distance that we wanted. Okay, so very easy way to place that and position that shape. So now we've got our grooves done. Last we need to do is these little cutouts here. So I'm going to start this off with just a cylinder. So I'm going to drop it again right on this edge here. And we know it's going to be, actually let's try a different one here. So let's go delete this. So I'm going to hold the shift key down and drop right on the center of this this guy here. I'm going to hold the shift key down, and that's going to put me right in the center. The why I'm doing that is this needs to be on a diameter circle that is 280 divided by 2 inside of there. And if we hit that at 140 to put that in the right location, it's got a diameter of 20 for that, and we can just pull this up and snap this to this bottom edge. So that kind of gives us our location for this. And since it's got a straight cutout, we can actually edit the cross section here and essentially just draw a rectangle. We can reference this point here, draw this up some distance, really doesn't matter. If we right click, we can type in that value with that 20 width on that inside of there. Last, we can just trim out this geometry that we don't need to give us our U shape essentially. So now we got our cutout there. We can now drop a cylinder right onto that center point, which has a diameter, let me look at that, 9 millimeters for that. Okay, so now we'll do that same pattern tool. Again, we'll do the pattern feature. We're going to do a circular pattern inside of here. In this case, this is still our axis that we're going to spin around. We're going to do a fixed space, 45 degrees, and we have 8 of those. So we can select our notch and our hole here as our features that the pattern, and go ahead and hit OK. And that creates our pattern shape for us. Okay, so that's essentially all it takes to build that model. So a really nice thing to have that cap feature there, and we can use the tribal to position things easily in reference here. Since we don't use any data planes in this model, we don't have to. We can create it without any of that using the tribal. Of course, we can use data planes if you like. Just like in other systems, we can put a data plane, do mirror shapes, things like that. It's all possible to do in IronCAD, just showing you a different way to build this. And of course, this one has a mass density, in this case, of 2700. If we type that over, that should be 4677 for that model. So that gives you an idea how to build that model. Again, you can add your Smart Paint colors to this to match their drawing inside of there, but that's all it takes. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and we'll see you on the next one.